Welcome to Four Seasons. This is the pre-trip online segment that you get to watch about doing the proper pre-trip. Pre-trips are very, very important. They're a legal requirement in Alberta, and they're definitely required by Four Seasons, part of our safety culture. This pre-trip segment will show you how to do your pre-trip properly, keeping in mind that a pre-trip on a bus takes anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes, depending on the size of your bus. Please make sure that you do your pre-trip correctly every morning, very vital. In the morning as I come up to the bus before I start my run, first thing I'm going to do is check to make sure the bus is level. Doesn't look like there's anything completely wrong with it. I'm going to check underneath for anything leaks or any objects that are underneath the bus. Once I've verified that, I'm going to hop inside and open the hood up. Open the hood. Hood latch is usually located right here on the side. Some Fords is located up here like this, but this Ford is located down here and all the GMs are located down here. Open up the hood, I'm going to ensure that my parking brake is on, just to make sure that it's not going to run away on me. And then I'm going to pop the hood, and I'm going to check underneath the hood. Most of the hood latches are here. If you're not sure, you can look to see where it is. Each bus again is a little different. Some of the hood struts are in different locations. Make sure it goes into this location where it says prop. Some buses it's down here, some it's over here. Now that I've got the hood open, I'm going to check to see if there's spillage on top, no leakage, nothing spraying or splashing. It all looks okay. And I'm going to start from my right side and work my way left. Okay. So on the right side, I have the coolant reservoir. This has to have fluid in it, cannot be dry. Okay, so make sure you have fluid in your coolant reservoir. Okay, next to that is your brake system. This has brake fluid in it. This cap should not be opened. Make sure that you have fluid. Sometimes at night, you just want to shake it to see that there's fluid in it. Brake fluid always sits on top of the master cylinder. That's the round silver thing you see down below. On this side here, there's power steering. This particular model has a clear case. You can see everything in it. Some models have a dipstick that you check to see how much power steering fluid is in it. In this bus, we'll move along to the engine oil. It comes out. You just want to make sure that in fact we do have the right level of engine oil in it. So if you happen to go by a Canadian Tire or a Walmart, you can always get the magnetic flashlight that sticks to your hood. It makes it a lot easier to see down to see what's going on. So again, we're going to pull the dipstick out and we're going to hold it nice and horizontal to make sure that we have oil between the two dots. This oil is very, very clean. Back in, once I'm going along, I'm going to make sure that my wire connections all look okay. I want to make sure my hoses aren't split or leaking. I have nothing that's odd or unusual, no other leaks down below that I can see. As I continue along, I can see this is where my air cleaner is. Again, nothing has popped off. Okay, there's nothing that I can see that's blocking the air cleaner entrance. Okay, as I continue along, I can look down here and I can see that I have a belt, and the belt looks like it's not frayed or cracked. Okay, it's in good shape. Next up is my transmission dipstick. And we want to make sure that in the transmission dipstick there is fluid in the transmission. These are quite long on some buses. Okay, and again you can see there's fluid in the transmission. That's what we're checking to make sure we have. Next up is the oil filler cap. Again, it's on tight. Okay, again, looking at all the wires and connections and hoses. Okay, next we have washer fluid. Okay, if your bus, you cannot see the washer fluid, then I would fill it every 2 weeks. If you use it often, then fill it once a week. Okay, but make sure that you have washer fluid, very important to have. have, especially in Calgary's temperate climate. Next is the battery. We're going to make sure the posts are okay, they're not excessively corroded, and the battery in fact is firmly entrenched. Okay. One more thing, and that this is an electrical release. Okay. This little knob comes out. If you're going to leave your bus for more than 3 days, it's a good idea to pop this so that the battery doesn't drain unnecessarily with other electronics inside the bus. So we'll put that back in. Again, checking to make sure that everything else looks okay, nothing else unusual or odd, and we'll close up our hood. Now I've finished under the hood. I'm going to come up to the bus. I'm going to open the door to make sure the door opens okay. If you have a manual window, you can check your window now, or if you have a power one, you can wait till the bus is started. I'm going to hop in, and as I'm getting inside the bus, I'm going to take my key, and I want to turn it on so I can see all my lights light up to make sure they're all working. Okay, and now I'm going to start my bus. Once I've started my bus, I want to make sure that my lights go out that are appropriate to go out. So right now, I have a seat belt and a brake warning lamp. Okay, so if I remove the brake by putting my foot on the foot brake and releasing the park brake, my light goes out, so I know that that system is working. I'll check my belt to make sure it works. And my light goes out for my seatbelt warning lamp, so I know my seatbelt works. Okay. Starting on my left side, if I've got power windows, I'm going to roll down the window. Here I've got a manual window. I roll it down to make sure that it works. Okay. I start off on my left side, light switch to go on, so I have my headlamps on. I'm going to check to make sure that my wipers work, and they do. That's good. I'm going to check to see that in the crossover mirrors I have low beams on and I have high beams on. I can see my indicator light indicate, and my high beams go on and off on that. As I continue to work over, I can see that my oil pressure is in the middle. That's good. My RPMs are about 800 RPM. My fuel level is just below 3/4. I'll mark that as 3/4 on my sheet. Can never go below half. Okay, my temperature gauge has not come up yet, and my odometer reading is 1,558. Okay, I note that I have battery gauge, and the battery gauge is showing right in the middle, so that's pretty good. As I continue to work my way left, this is my 4-way hazard flasher switch. I'm going to turn that on now. I want to see that I have 2 lamps at the front, my lamps work, and the switch itself works. I'm now going to check the steering to see that it works, and it does. There's no excess of free play in it. I'm going to turn it all the way to the left, so I'll explain later as we go across. So here we are. And as we're going across, we're going to also make sure we test the horn to make sure the horn works. And nothing wrong with checking to make sure your park brake works. So again, we put it into drive, apply the park brake, and then we take our foot off the brake, and the bus doesn't move. That means the park brake works okay. Across, I'm going to check to make sure that my defrost works. So in this bus, it's all the way to the right. I want to turn the heat on, and I want to know that in fact I get air movement, and it's hot air that moves across my window. It has to work for that to work. Next up, my seatbelt cutter. I know that my seatbelt cutter is here. Each bus has a different location for seatbelt cutters. Just make sure you have your seatbelt cutter. I'm going to turn my master switch on. I'm going to turn on my start switch, okay, for my warning lamps. That activates my ambers. And in this bus, I can barely see the ambers in the crossover mirrors. At night, you can always see the ambers flashing in the dark. You want to make sure your ambers work. Next up is my noise suppression switch. That's very effective if you're using on a rural road. Okay. Inside is my dome lights. I want to make sure they all work. Okay. I want to make sure that my heater works. In the back, low and high. This particular bus has 2 rear heaters. They both work low and high. It has a mirror defrost switch. I turn it on. This one's an automatic off. Some of the older models, you have to remember to turn off your mirror defrost or it will burn it out. Next is my strobe lamp. I'll turn it on now. And then I'm going to go to the back. In order to check my brake lights, I'm going to use a snow brush to depress the brake pedal and put it up against something that holds the brake pedal down. It only has to hold the brake pedal a little bit to activate the switch. As I continue to walk backwards, I'm going to make sure that everything is secure, nothing is not secure. Okay, I'm going to look seat down, so that means I'm checking my seats to make sure they're secure, they're not loose. I can have a quick visualization of the seat belts, make sure they're okay, seats are okay. I get to the back of the bus. Again, if I have cue strands on the floor, I want to make sure they're secure, they're not floating around. I'm going to open up the back door. This should give me my alarm. There's my alarm. I'm going to look out the door, 3-point of contact, make sure my ambers work. I have brake lights, and I have signal lights, signal lamps that are in fact working, and both my ambers are working. I'll close the door because I now know the alarm goes. The door works satisfactorily from the inside. As I continue back through the bus, I'm now going to look windows up, making sure that everything is okay. I get to an emergency exit window. I'm going to check to make sure that it works. It does. It opens all the way, and an alarm goes off. Okay, second emergency exit window. Again, I'm going to make sure that it in fact works. Yes, it does, and the alarm goes off. Hey, as I continue along, I can't forget my roof escape hatch. I'm just going to make sure that it's sealed. It looks okay. All right, as I continue on, again, looking at the roof. As I get to the front of the bus, I'm going to note that my first aid kit is here. It's secure. I'm going to note that I have my triangles. Make sure when you first get your bus that you check to make sure you have 3 triangles inside it. So the 3 triangles look like this. There's my 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I'm going to take away my snow brush for my brakes, and I'm going to retrieve my broom. My broom is always securely stored. Again, nothing in the bus can be loose. It has to be stored securely. You cannot have open boxes that can float around. Okay, I'm going to open up the door. Okay, as I open up the door, I'm checking to see that my fire extinguisher is firmly attached and the needle is in the green here. I can see that I have stepwell lights to come on. Okay, and I'm going to step outside the bus. Make sure that my porch light is on. Okay, the newer buses have lights up here. The older buses have a light that is down here. Make sure it works as well. I'm also going to look at the door seal to make sure that the door seal is okay. Nothing's unusual about the door, and all the handles are nice and secure. Goes up, steps are clean and free of any debris. Again, good thing to have a broom like this. It's very helpful to be able to do that. As we go along, I'm going to note that my CVIP sticker is good till 2020. Third month, that's March. So March of 2020, it has to go back in for a CVIP sticker. As I go underneath, I'm going to check to make sure my springs are okay. Shock is not leaking, okay? Nothing's damaged underneath here. Brake lines look okay. Nothing's leaking. Tread is good, okay? Sidewall is good on the tire. There's no undue blemishes or big cuts in it. The rim is okay. It's not bent or cracked or damaged. My valve stem cover's on. Nothing that's leaking on the inside that I can see. And my hub is not leaking here. And turning these lug nuts counterclockwise to make sure they're not loose and there's no silvering on them. I continue on up to the mirrors, make sure the mirrors are secure. Always make sure your mirrors are nice and clean. If you can, you want to have clean mirrors. As I continue around the front, again, I'm looking to see that there's no damage to the bus. Okay, window looks okay. I have 5 clearance lights at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing wrong with the front end. I'm looking underneath to see that there's no leaks now that the engine's been running. I'm looking to see that my overhead reds are on my 8-ways. That's 2 of my 8-ways there. Just keep in mind that this cannot be done on a public street. Okay, it has to be done off on private property, but you have to make sure that your 8-ways in fact work. As I continue around my bus, I'm going to again check this mirror to see that it's secure. Both mirrors are secure. Again, back to the left front tire, same thing. I'm going to check to make sure my spring is not cracked, shock absorber is not leaking, no leaks from any of the lines, nothing is out of the ordinary or cracked or damaged. This tire tread is very good. Again, looking at the sidewall to make sure the sidewall is okay, no undue blemishes, no big abrasions or cuts. Rim is okay, it's in good shape, it's not bent or cracked. Valve stem cover's on, nothing is leaking on the inside of the rim. The hub's not leaking, and again I checked each one of the lug nuts to see that it's not undoing and that it's not silvering on me. Mud flap is okay, it's secure. As I continue down the side of the bus, I've already checked my doors. Again, looking at my reflective tape to make sure it's okay. Okay, the side of the bus is unduly damaged. And stop sign is out and all 4 lights are there. So that's 6 of my red lights that are working. So again, I'm still looking to see that my reflective tape is all good. Okay, I've now arrived at the rear wheel. Okay, the rear wheel, I'm going to make sure that in fact my inside dual tire is inflated. Big thump and big thump. Dull, hollow sound. Okay, kind of like a drum. Okay, dual rear wheels, you must thump the tires because you cannot tell if the tire is flat because the other one holds it up. So very important to thump your dual rear wheels to make sure that both in fact are inflated. Now that I'm here, I'm looking underneath to make sure again that my spring is okay. A couple of taps on the spring, and I want to make sure that it's not cracked or broken. Nothing underneath here is out of place. Nothing in between the duals. Okay, I can use the head of my broom to check to make sure there's nothing in between the duals. Again, I'm looking at the tire treads. Inside is good, outside tire is good. Again, nothing on the face of the tire. Okay, the rim is okay, no cracks, no bends, no damages to it. There's nothing leaking on the inside of these two. Okay, again, you have to look for the valve stem cover, one on the outside tire and one on the inside tire. You want to make sure, of course, that your lug nuts are in fact tight, they don't turn off, your hub's not leaking, and there's no silvering on it. The mud flap is in fact secure, and now I'm at the fuel cap. I want to make sure the fuel cap is on tight. When I check the fuel cap, I'm now going to look underneath my bus to make sure that in fact my tank is not hanging, straps are good and tight. I can now look at the exhaust, see that it's okay. I can look at the other side tire to make sure it looks okay on the inside. You can now see that my other 8-ways are on. Okay, so that's all my 8-ways. My clearance lights are good, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can see that my 4-ways are still working. I need to know the bulbs work. Okay, I can see that my tail lights work, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can see that my license plate light works. And I can see that I have a valid plate with a valid sticker on it. Okay, my bumper's not unduly damaged, and I'm now going to check the rear door to make sure it in fact opens from the outside and an alarm goes off. There's my alarm. Okay, again, if this door is not having hydraulic strut like this one does, then make sure you hold on to the door so that it does not hit you. Okay, you're checking to make sure that the seal around the door is good. It's not going to let exhaust fumes inside the bus. Okay, windows are nice. No cracks. I'm going to close the door, alarm goes off, and I'll continue on. I'm going to make sure again that my tailpipe is not loose or hanging down. As I continue around the bus, I get to the other side, where if you have a wheelchair bus, you want to make sure in fact that your door does in fact open. Again, this door is on a hydraulic strut. If it's not, make sure that you fasten your door so it cannot hit you. just make sure the floor area is nice and clean. This is your lift. Turn your lift on. Many different places have a different power switch. This is here. Your lights come on. That means that you have your park brake activated. If the park brake is not on, it will not operate the lift. Again, you want to make sure that you have your emergency handle in case your hydraulics don't work. This allows you to pump the lift up and down. In this case, we're going to check to make sure that the lift unfolds. Okay, so we want to make sure the lift unfolds. That way you know that the electronics are working and the hydraulics are working. Make sure you stand clear of the lift. There, it unfolds. We're going to fold it back up again. If your bus has sat for a long time, there's a good chance that your lift has sagged. Just fold it again before you unfold. If it won't unfold, that charges the system and make sure that it's going to work for you okay. Once you've done that, you can turn your lift off and close the door. Before you're closing the door, again, make sure your seals are okay. There's nothing wrong with the seals, they're not cracked, and we're going to close the door. Okay, so the strobe light's working in the dark. You can see it flashing, but inside you can step to the back and look to see the strobe light flashing. Again, I continue down the side of the bus. Again, I'm looking for my reflective tape. I want to make sure there's no damage to the side of the bus. And again, I'm now at the rear wheels on the right-hand side. Again, same thing. I'm going to check to make sure that the inside tire is inflated. Okay, another reason why you want to have a broom like this. Okay, you want to check again to make sure the leaf springs are okay. There's no cracking to them, they're not damaged. Good chance to look at the exhaust system as well. Look in between the dualies to make sure they're okay. No rocks or anything like that that's inside. Okay. Again, looking at the tread depth on the inside tire and the outside tire. Again, we're going to look at the outside tire. Make sure there's nothing, no damage to the sidewall. It's not blemished. It doesn't have any big cuts or abrasions to it. Again, looking at the rim to make sure the rim is okay. No dents, no cracks on the rim. Hub is not leaking. Lug nuts are on tight by trying to twist them off. Okay, again, look inside the duals to make sure there's no leakage. And you're going to check to see that you have valve stem caps on inside and outside tire. Mud flap is secure, it's not falling off. Okay, again, a chance to look underneath at the other side to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And your exhaust system looks like it's not leaking, that's good. Okay, your drive shaft has the two U-clips to make sure that nothing's going to fall off. Okay, we continue along the side of the bus. And we drive back at the front door. And we'll go back inside and finish the rest of our inside. The reason that I turned the wheel all the way to the left so that you could see the inside of the tire and the springs and the shocks. It's much easier if your wheel is turned so you can actually look inside that particular housing. Now that I'm back, okay, I'm going to turn off my four-way hazard flashers. I know that the bulbs all work. I now have to make sure that the signal stock works. So I'm going to turn on my left signal. I can see that yes, in fact, it works. Inside indicator works. Right bulb works. And I'm going to turn on my right one. Again, the stock works, the signal itself works, and my bulbs still work. I've done that. Each bus contains a documentation package, okay? This is bus number 2074. It contains all the documentation required for the bus, okay? Those documentations include your insurance, your registration, your CVIP paper for your sticker, okay? Your safety fitness certificate, your Alberta Operating Authority certificate, your Schedule 2, okay? And among other things, it contains all the documents about safety data sheets and a motor vehicle collision form in case you're in the unfortunate incident of being in a motor vehicle collision. That form was also located in your document package. The other thing that must be pointed out is that now you can fill out your pre-trip form, okay? And I'll go into that in a second. So, pre-trip is very important to make sure you fill out correctly the date, the time you did it, and your mileage. Make sure on the fuel part you mark down whether it's full, 3/4, or a half. Again, we don't go below half. Check off anything that's all the things that are correct. If something's not correct, put a star behind it. and on your star, write the comments below that indicate what is not correct with the bus. Just so everyone knows, on this particular model of bus, there's a storage compartment here. It's a twist knob to lock it shut, and you can keep your documentation package in there and anything else that's loose or free that you don't want to have floating around, because again, secure cargo is very important. Okay, I'll leave my pre-trip sheet here. I'm going to now make sure I turn off my strobe lamp and my master switch. I want to point out that if you leave your bus overnight, okay, all the new buses have a locking feature. This locks the bus. It starts off an alarm, so you can't drive with it locked. Okay, and at the back of the bus, there's also the locking device that must be engaged at nighttime to make sure, again, that it doesn't get broken into, and again, an alarm sounds, you can't drive with it locked. On some buses, they have electrical panels, okay? It marks on it, do not use a storage compartment. Please do not use the electrical panel storage as storage. It is strictly an electrical panel. You don't want to get electrocuted, so please, it's not to be used as storage. Okay, on this bus, this is where your mirrors are adjusted from. Okay, turning the knob to the left adjusts the top mirror. Turning the knob to the right adjusts the bottom convex mirror for the left mirror. And again, the same thing goes for the right side mirror. That's how you adjust your mirrors, and you can see the mirror adjust. So we've completed our pre-trip. It's all done. We filled out our pre-trip sheet. Now the other pre-trip part, and that is your mental preparedness. Okay, make sure that you are mentally prepared to drive in the vehicle. That means that you're paying attention to what you're doing when you're driving. You're watching your speedometer, you're watching your mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. You're looking 11 to 12 seconds in front of you as you're driving. You're aware of what's going around in your bus and around your bus. It's constant vigilance that you need to have. Please do not become complacent when driving your unit.